Okay, we're going to call the meeting to order. Roll call.
Mr. Lamar,
Here.
Mr. Kubicki,
Here.
Mr. Brokamp.
Here.
Okay, stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, and first of all, thank you everybody for coming. And before we go on to our regular meeting, similar to the last meeting, we had some major things to talk about that have happened in the township. So before we begin our meeting, I want to bring everybody up to date on some of the major township events. For those of you that don't already know, our fellow colleague and trustee Susan Hughes sadly passed away last month on December 10th. We paid a nice tribute to her in our last December meeting, and we will continue to find ways to tribute her in a more formal way in the future, and we look forward to trying to figure some of those things out. And with that, we had to go on and move on with township business, and Ohio law provides that the township trustees should appoint a new trustee within 30 days. So when any seat is vacated, it gives the remaining trustees a unique opportunity to appoint that new position, whether it be trustee or fiscal officer in Caroline Egan's case, that they believe they get a chance to appoint somebody new that they believe can best serve the township. And we've always taken that responsibility with great care and respect. And when Melissa Taylor, after Susan's passing, Melissa Taylor canvassed Brian Lamar and I on any ideas of who we might have to serve out the rest of Susan's term. The first person that came to both of our lists was Steve Brokamp, who is sitting here to my left. He was at the top of both our lists, and Melissa agreed he'd be a tremendous selection to serve on our board, so it was an easy choice to make. So sitting next to me to our left is our new trustee, Mr. Steve Brokamp, who we had a special meeting on December 27th between Christmas and the holiday. We came and had a special meeting, and we swore him in as our new trustee on December 27th to keep in line with that 30-day notice. So, Steve, thank you and welcome aboard.
Thank you so much.
It's great to meet you. And now let me give you a little background on Steve Brokamp. We'll kind of go segue into more positive now, a little upbeat tone. Again, always respectful of Susan and her family. But it's a new year, and we pay tribute to him. We'll continue to do so, and our condolences go out to their family. That will never stop. So let's go on to Steve Brokamp and talk about this. I first met Steve over a decade ago when he was the beloved principal at Marymount High School, Marymount Elementary School. He was always well-liked and well-respected, was always looking at positive solutions to any problems or opportunities. I always admired his ability to work with such a broad range of people and their unique personalities. My kids loved Mr. Brokamp. I mentioned Mr. Brokamp, maybe you said they loved him. That says a lot about a principal. At the township, we've worked with Steve, more Brian and Melissa did even more closely. Worked with them on some zoning issues in the past, and also some traffic issues, and found them to be both reasonable, balanced, truthful, and fair. You'll find him to be a great, compassionate listener, and which is great for any community. I mean, it's always nice to have that. That's Steve's reputation, as being a compassionate, caring listener. In addition to being the principal, he was a former teacher and currently serves 20 counties in Ohio for Junior Achievement, a nonprofit that provides some financial literacy, career readiness, and entrepreneurial education for grades kindergarten through 12 and post-secondary education as well. As far as education-wise, Mr. Brokamp, well, two things. Mr. Brokamp's a lifelong Cincinnati resident, and he's got a master's degree of educational administration from Cincinnati's own Xavier University. Cincinnati guy, you gotta love that. And as I said before, when a trustee position opens up, it puts us in a unique position to pick a highly qualified person and a great team member. Steve's got an incredible background at dealing with people, solving problems, and being just a positive influence in the community. I've always looked up to him for that. He was an easy pick, and I'm proud he accepted our invitation to serve on this board. And I believe many years from now, when you guys might even vote me out, you'll be looking, thinking, I like this guy. How'd he get on our team? And we love him. So that said, we're going to introduce you to the legendary Columbia Township resident, new trustee, Steve Brokamp. Steve, why don't you tell us a little about the neighborhood you live in and a little about your family, and we won't go too deep, and we'll maybe take a deeper dive in a podcast later, but tell us a little about yourself.
It's going to be very difficult to live up to that. I'm really honored to be here, and I really appreciate the trust that you all have put into me early on here. I've been a member of Columbia Township community for, 12 years or more. And we moved here with our family because I was becoming the principal at Marymount. And we just fell in love with the community. And we've always been very proud to be in the Columbia Township portion of the community.
Good. We're proud to have you.
Yeah. So just very excited. Love the area. Love the neighborhood. And I have to give a shout out to all of the services provided by the community. As my wife Andrea, who's here, can attest, we moved in from Claremont County, and we lived in Claremont County for over 20 years. Built our second and our third house out there, and we're just amazed by the services provided by Columbia Township when we moved here. Just law enforcement, fire safety, street cleaning, just everything. And so we've been very proud to be here, and we're lucky. So thank you for inviting me to the team.
Well, welcome aboard, and thanks for joining us. And just to be specific here, as far as where you're part of the community, it's the Plainville area, Worcester Pike, behind Walgreens, and just to be specific, to tell them exactly where you live.
Sure. Yeah, I'm at 4225 Beach Street, which is the very last house at the top of the hill. We sit in a little yellow frame house up there, and just have a beautiful view of the surroundings, and it's just a very private, wonderful area, and it was perfect. It was a perfect place for a new principal to land.
Coming out
Not in the village.
Yeah, just a little bit out of the fray.
Yes.
I could certainly see that. Well, again, welcome, and as we always say, we try to find new representation from different parts of the community, so it's nice to see that, and so thank you, and Joey, we look forward to serving with you.
Thanks.
Brian, I don't know if you had anything to add?
Love to. I think you said it really well when you said reasonable, balanced, truthful, and fair. I wrote that down, and I've known Steve for a couple of years, a couple different issues in the township, and found him, that is great words to describe him, and I think he's going to be such an amazing addition to the community, to the township. I look forward to working with him, and his background is perfect for this role, and have no doubt that he'll do well. And I know that he commended the road crew. They go to the top of that hill and salt it and wait for the snow to melt and then drive down it, which I found amazing. So pretty interesting.
Good stuff. High pressure. It's like a first-round draft pick, guys. You're expecting big things from this guy. So, no, seriously, welcome aboard.
Thank you.
There we go. Now we go on, and we've got a couple other special treats here, too, I guess, with this meeting. So if I'm a little out of sorts, just bear with me. You're dealing with Susan, and then we got Steve, and we got swearings-ins. We got all kinds of stuff. So, but first, before we do that, we'll go to the approval and signing of the minutes from the regular meeting minutes of December 12, 2023. I guess Steve won't vote on these since he wasn't a part of that, so I make a motion, we approve the signing of the meeting minutes of December 12, 2023. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Roll call.
Mr. Lamar?
Yes.
Mr. Kubicki?
Yes. Okay, and I make a motion to approve the special meeting minutes of December 27, 2023. Again, I think Steve's not supposed to vote on this, so roll call.
Mr. Lamar?
Well, I'll second that first of all.
Thank you.
Yeah, second, yeah.
And yes,
Mr.
Yes.
Kubicki?
Yes. Okay, and now I have the honor and the privilege of swearing in the fiscal officer, the always brilliant, always on time and under budget, Caroline Eakin. Okay, so I guess I swear her in. Do I stand for this, and did you guys give me a script or something to read?
Oh,
My bad, totally.
That's all right.
Oops.
I got it, let me go
I'm
grab it.
sorry, I don't have it.
It's okay.
just say I do.
Give me a
Don't know it
second.
by heart, David?
No, I do not.
I don't either.
Bear with us. So,
I bet I have it on my phone.
Did you get a spot out front?
it's okay.
The tree limbs will fall like, it's like, oh gosh.
We used it for the other meeting and I never put it back.
You have it right here?
You just-
Okay.
Just use her name.
Okay, there we go.
Okay, and then.
All right,
Okay,
I guess
got
you
it.
stand up. Did she raise her
Use the
hand?
right
or- Okay, I, Caroline Heekin,
I, Caroline Heekin,
do solemnly swear to support the Constitution of the United States,
do solemnly swear to support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of Ohio,
the Constitution of the State of Ohio,
and the laws of the State of Ohio,
and the laws of the State of Ohio,
and that I will faithfully, honestly, and impartially
and that I will faithfully, honestly, and impartially
perform the duties of the office of Fiscal Officer of Columbia Township.
perform the duties of the office of Fiscal Officer of Columbia Township.
Sorry if I was a little disjointed there. Okay,
Thank
sworn
you.
in. And now you got the honor of swearing in Brian Lamar.
Mr. Okay. I, Brian Lamar,
I, Brian Lamar,
do solemnly swear to support
do solemnly swear to support
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of Ohio,
the Constitution of the State of Ohio,
and the laws of the State of Ohio,
and the laws of the State of Ohio,
and that I will faithfully, honestly, and impartially
and that I will faithfully, honestly, and impartially
perform the duties
perform the duties
of the office of Trustee of Columbia Township.
of the office of Trustee of Columbia Township. Thank
Okay?
you.
Thank you.
And now, as we said, we already swore him in on December
Yes.
27th, but for the sake of the public and the ceremony and everything, let's go ahead and swear him in
Okay.
again.
Let's do it. I, Steve Brokamp,
I, Steve Burkamp,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
to support the Constitution of the United States,
to support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of Ohio,
the Constitution of the State of Ohio,
and the laws of the State of Ohio,
and the laws of the State of Ohio.
and that I will faithfully, honestly, and impartially
And I will faithfully, honestly, and impartially
perform the duties of the office of Trustee of Columbia Township.
perform the duties of the office of Trustee of Columbia Township.
Okay, now we move on to open forum.
I don't have anyone signed in.
Okay.
Did you want to make any comment?
Okay, then we move on to reports. We start with the fiscal officer's report with the newly sworn in Ms. Heekin.
Thank you. December was the end of the 2023 budget year, and the general fund ending balance was $4,075,864, which was an increase of 3% from November. Restricted fund ending balance was $5,897,113, which is up 5% from November. Totaled, these funds are $9,972,977, which is an increase of 6% from November. Revenues for December were $0, and expenses were $489,249. Year-to-date revenues, $6,624,123, and year-to-date expenses, $5,323,663. The Hamilton County first half property tax revenue settlement will occur in March of '24, and the second half will occur in September of '24. The residential levy revenues do not cover the cost of the township's public services. Business revenues cover more than 80% of the cost of our public services in Columbia Township. And thanks to Columbia Township's success in attracting and supporting businesses, we can continue to provide our community with these exceptional services at a lower cost.
Thank you. Any questions about Ms. Heekin's report?
Any questions?
Okay. Any questions about the road superintendent's report?
I would like to point out
Okay.
that our road superintendent, Dustin Frazier, wanted everyone to be reminded. Our Christmas tree pickup program started this month and will continue until January 29th. If you miss putting out your live tree, which we will pick up and recycle and return to the earth, if you miss the January 29th cutoff, we will pick up the trees on the regular brush day.
I see one of our fire chiefs shaking his head. You shouldn't have dead trees in there for 30 days. Fire hazard.
Yes.
He really wasn't, but we just lighten the mood a little bit.
Good segue.
Okay, all right, then we go on to the administrator's report with Ms. Taylor.
I just have a couple of items verbally that I want to share. I want to say that as we are ending, and Ms. Heekin will agree with me here, as we are ending a very full year, administratively as well as accounting-wise, and also at the same time, starting a new year, it is a really heavy lift for the staff. And Caroline has been in and out, assisting us in keeping going, but I want to say a special thank you to Lauren Allison and Ellen Harbach, who is an employee of Fairfax, my old Butler County days, Fairfax Village that we share. And both of them have been phenomenal. We literally, all of us, at times in the afternoons, you've seen it when you've been in, will all be in a row in chairs gathered around laptops, pushing through, almost like plowing fields. So I want to thank them. It's a very busy time, and we have a lot of other items that require a lot of work as well, grant compliance and reporting and things like that. So a shout out to them. And then also the big news for us administratively and development-wise in 2024, as everyone knows, is that we will be moving forward with redevelopment of the Madison Place Firehouse on Murray. And so I have been working the past month to finalize the details of the construction contract, and we're scheduling a pre-construction meeting with our engineer, project manager, architects, and the contractors, and key staff members here. Dustin and I will be lead for the township in the last week of January. And then we will have an updated schedule in terms of delivery for that project. So that's going to occupy an extensive amount of my time as well as Dustin's this year, but we'll keep moving forward on a lot of other things as well. So that's what's kind of pressing for us. And I know that we tentatively have our first event scheduled at the St. Patrick's Day at 50 West, because we cannot use the firehouse building. And I just had the date in front of me, and
Don't worry about it.
it's on the
door.
I just had the date in front of me and blanked on it in March. And so that's our first move of an event away from our firehouse. And then, as I've mentioned before, we are going to have a conversation with Chandra, Lauren, Dustin, me, and some others to look at the logistics of the other events, about what we are going to be able to do or not do in alternate locations. And so hopefully by February we will have, and of course to bring it to the trustees for final approval for the event schedule for the year. So.
Okay. Any questions about the administrator's report other than that?
No.
Okay. Any questions about the economic development report from Mr. Montgomery?
I have a comment.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm excited about the potential of Waffle House
I
at
know.
Ridge and Highland.
Yes.
I hope that happens. That'd be a great addition to the community. Big fan.
There's a lot, and I have to remember what structure's on it, but they're splitting an existing lot in the shopping center area.
I assume it's where the White Castles was.
So
No.
they're splitting off a new lot.
It's
There's
over
a
there,
map.
closer to Lowe's, I think, is what it looks like.
Yeah, so if you cross, continue going west on Highland past the Ridge intersection, it's there. So they're actually doing a lot split, and they're going to build new. And so we will make sure that we can add them to our Columbia Township. Taste of Columbia Township, if we're able to pull off Margaritaville this June and have waffles or
Yeah.
something else amazing
Hash browns,
from there.
waffles.
Hash browns, waffles, yes.
Let's get the giant scissors ready to do it. Let's go.
Let's do it. Thank you, Dustin.
All right. Now we move on to the police report with the legendary Robin Reed, Sergeant Robin Reed.
I have nothing. I wanted to make sure that.
No news is good news with police. We're
I
okay with
wanted to make
that.
sure that you did receive the report from the intelligence unit, and Brian has pointed out that he has it in hand. And no news is good news. Everything is running well, and just proud that these guys are out there giving it their all.
Any questions?
I'd like to add something.
You go.
I want to say thank you to Lieutenant Paul Neighbor and also Sergeant Robin Reed. Even though we have with you a contract, it doesn't feel like a contract. It truly feels like it's community policing. We hear that from residents and from businesses as well. And I want to say on behalf of the staff Lieutenant Neighbor and Sergeant Reed come in regularly. Robin comes in with goodies, which we really appreciate, but also really thoughtful things when, something happens, a card or something like that, so it's really special. And so I'm going to attempt to read this. This actually came from Lieutenant Neighbor. He sent to me before the year ended on December 21st. He said, I'm thinking of you all. Here's to Susan. May God lift her up to heaven in the palm of his hand. So I want to say thank you guys for doing that for us.
Thank you.
Sorry.
That's all right.
Thank you. Okay. Next, we move on to Little Miami Joint Fire and Rescue District report, and also the Deer Park Silverton Fire District with Mr. Lamar, and we obviously have Chief Beater out in the audience as well, but Mr. Lamar?
Yeah, Chief Sifke just texted me a few minutes ago and said that he was unable to attend, and no news is good news for Little Miami, and no news is good news in Deer Park Silverton. So it'll be a short report. That's always good.
Get the trees out of the house though, right? Especially the live ones.
Not burn them in your fire.
Okay, don't burn them in your fireplace, okay. Okay. Can you burn them outside? Okay. Okay, now we
Asking for a
Not in this
friend.
weather.
He's
Yeah.
asking for a friend.
Sure. Next, we move on to trustees' reports. Anything to report?
I just really, Melissa kind of alluded to it. I think 2024 was a challenging year in many ways and ended really hard. And the staff.
Maybe 2023.
2023, oh my gosh, I already ended this year. 2023 was a challenging year, and our staff is just so amazing. We say it a lot. People notice it, I notice it. They work really hard. They really care about Columbia Township and the employees and the services we provide. They work so hard, and so thank you to Mel and your team.
Yeah, and thank you, and Melissa, you've certainly had some great picks with Lauren and Ellen and some of the other guys too, and Dustin and his gang, and Jim, Jamie, Rob, all those guys. Every time you see these guys, and one thing I love is they all have each other's backs. I mean, you guys are all very tight unit. They would do anything for this community and anything for each other. That's a really good bunch of people. And that's why we go out of our way to bend over backwards to tribute them, because I think that's how you keep and retain good people. And even when I know Rob French came from the Claremont County, I mean, he just sees the love here, and it makes a difference. It may seem corny to some people at times. It's even corny to me, but you can't help it. It's contagious. So it's a good group of people, and certainly Lauren and Ellen out in the front office here. You just walk in and you want to smile. They're just really good souls, and obviously you can pay homage to how great a job they do. So, Steve, you're going to see all this.
And also, I think when you get our team, you get their family too.
Yeah.
And so, no pressure for you. You don't have to.
Yeah.
But I think everybody, I've met Lauren's
okay.
mom and children of all our road and maintenance crew, and they volunteer at events and help us hand out cotton candy, and who knows what all they're doing. It's amazing.
Yeah, all good stuff. So there you go. And again, we're gonna have a great 2024. Again, little, like you said, hard things and the Susan stuff. So you guys dealt with a lot in 2023, but 2024, it's gonna be great. And Steve, you're gonna be great. Okay, we move on to communications. Any questions about the communications? Okay, then I guess making a motion to approve the 2023 Board of Trustees monthly meeting dates. I won't mention them. I don't think I need to do that. But I make a motion that we approve the 2023 Board of Trustee meeting dates, which is the second Tuesday of every month
At 4 p.m.
at 4 p.m.
here.
I make a motion, we approve it. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Roll call.
Mr. Lamar?
Yes.
Mr. Kubicki?
Yes.
Mr. Brokamp?
Yes.
It will
Okay.
be our final year in this building.
Okay, and then I make a motion to nominate, we gotta do nominations. We make a motion to nominate an election of the trustee board president.
I'll make a motion to nominate David Kubicki as to continue as Columbia Township Board of Trustees president.
I'd rather you second that.
Let's hope he seconds.
I was just about to do that. I second that.
Roll call.
Mr. Lamar?
Yes.
Mr. Kubicki?
Sure.
Mr. Brokamp?
Yes.
And that's soon to change, maybe. But, all right, I make a motion to nominate an election of the Board of Trustees Vice President. I make a motion we nominate and continue with Brian Lamar. Do I hear a second?
I second.
Roll call.
Mr. Lamar?
Yes.
Mr. Kubicki?
Yes.
Yes.
Mr. Brokamp? Thank you.
Okay. And make a motion, the appointment of representatives to the Little Miami Joint Fire and Rescue District Board. I make a motion that we appoint Brian and Melissa. Do I hear a second?
I second.
Roll call.
Mr. Lamar?
Yes.
Mr. Kubicki?
Yes.
Mr. Brokamp?
Yes.
Okay, and then appointment of the representative to the Hamilton County Regional Planning Commission Planning Partnership. I make a motion we appoint Melissa Taylor.
I second.
Roll call.
Mr. Lamar?
Yes.
Mr. Kubicki?
Yes.
Mr. Brokamp?
Yes.
Okay, and I make a motion for the appointment, well, let me start. On the appointment of representatives to Hamilton County Tax Incentive Review Council and Housing Council, 2 representatives. I make a motion we appoint Brian Lamar and Steve Brokamp. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Roll call.
Mr. Lamar?
Yes.
Mr. Kubicki?
Yes.
Mr. Brokamp?
Yes.
Okay, and then confirmation of the JED-Z Board Chairperson and Representatives, 1 chair and 2 reps. I make a motion that we appoint Brian as the chair, and I guess I'm going to appoint myself and Steve Brokamp as reps. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
A second? Okay, roll call.
Mr. Lamar?
Yes.
Mr. Kubicki?
Yes.
Mr. Brokamp?
Yes.
Okay, now resolutions, we go on, and I'm going to hand this to Melissa because you do a much finer job than me at this.
We do not have a supplemental appropriation, just having passed the full appropriation for the entire year. So we'll move on to the 2 other resolutions. So these are both first reading dispensing with the second. The first is establishing a tax increment financing fund repayment plan and dispensing with the second reading. So I've mentioned before that tax increment financing is a development tool that the state of Ohio allows communities to use in order to invest heavily in eligible public infrastructure in areas where development is occurring. And we've talked about the tools that this board uses to stretch the property tax revenues, which do not cover the cost of these services. So to recap, we have the JED-Z, which you just appointed the board members to that, which is the income tax on our business districts. And then as a result of having 2 currently medical marijuana dispensaries, we do have a medical marijuana host community revenue sharing that occurs. And we also have tax increment financing districts, which typically have debt associated with them in the early years because we have paid for a very costly public improvement. For example, for UC Health over in the Ridge District, we did a road improvement for that area in order to accommodate that project. So when that debt is paid off, then there is revenue that is generated that the township has the option to invest in other eligible projects. So the shorter story, or the short ending of this program, is that because TIFs are considered by the county or the state auditor as a complex accounting mechanism, because there are loans that are made. You may recall when we purchased for redevelopment the properties on Murray and on Cambridge for redevelopment as an eligible investment. We loaned the funds to do that from general fund, which is the JED-Z and the medical marijuana fund. Again, these are not property taxes. Loaned it to that TIF fund, and then as the Woostie development is fully built and the auditor picks up the new tax revenues on that project, those new revenues will begin to flow into that TIF account. So the punchline, if anyone is still following or interested, is that the auditor asks that we have a repayment plan. It's optional to have a repayment plan to the general fund because our general fund is exclusively, for the most part, business revenues from the JED-Z and medical marijuana, and it is not property taxes. It's less of a matter here than it is in some other communities where they have revenues that are in the TIF fund. So I have been managing this plan, and it's not required that I bring it to the trustees, but because I think it's really important that you as a board, we as the leadership team and with the community listening and being engaged is aware of what it takes to run this community, all the different financing sources, and the accounting that is required to do that as well. And so, as I've shared when I came on board, I've been working with TIFs since they first came to Ohio in 1993, so 30 plus years there. And what I also want to share is that when I started, the TIFs that had been established were in the Ridge and Highland area, which is great, but we don't own as much public infrastructure in the Ridge and Highland area because of the county thoroughfares. Whereas that there were not TIFs in the eastern part of the community where we have needs for redevelopment and public infrastructure. So the Woosie TIF that we put into place as a result of that expansion brought much needed TIF revenues to the eastern part of the community. And when that TIF account starts to cash flow, we've talked about the different uses for that in prior meetings. So I am introducing to the trustees for your awareness, and formally did it as a resolution, what a TIF repayment plan looks like. And so in the attachment, you'll see that there's a list of the active TIFs. And then I have summaries on some of the TIFs that are already beginning to cash flow, and at what point, what will we use the revenues for, which we've talked about in policy discussions in these board meetings, and then how will we apply revenues as they come into the different TIF funds. And as I said, the auditor allows the trustees to provide policy direction for the use and establishment of TIFs, but the accounting of it falls onto the staff. And so as you may have time, you're welcome to read through, but for example, the Plainville TIF, I state what the estimated net annual revenues may be, what the revenues might be over the lifetime, when we might see new revenues fully come into the TIF account, and then examples of priority projects that the trustees have identified previously. So for example, redevelopment of 6904 Murray, which we just spoke about, the firehouse, giving that back to the community as the township headquarters, the town hall, the community center, and a senior center. And then 6805 Cambridge, 6896 Murray, and then economic development within Madison Place and economic development and infrastructure within Madison Place. So that's also a reminder that TIFs must be used generally within a mile or so of the project that is generating all of the funds. So I'm just asking the trustees to pass this formally, even though it's not required, in the spirit of full disclosure, and a favorite word that sometimes pops up in conversations, transparency.
I'll make a motion that we approve. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Lamar?
Yes.
Mr. Kubicki?
Yes.
Mr. Brokamp?
Yes.
And real quick, just because I think this is so critical, the revenue sources, as you say, other people's money that we were able to capture, and I know I'm repeating myself to people that understand, but I kind of call it TIFs for dummies, which are people like me, honestly. But to bring non-technical, but the medical marijuana, we capture revenue sharing. We share a portion of the revenues that come in. It's a big resource for our community, that when we allow them to put in those two places over in the Ridge and Highland area, we capture 2.5% of the revenues, which generates around $1 million a year for this community of other people's money. The Jed Z is an income tax on the businesses, the employees that work at the businesses, not the residents in the community, which generates, I think, up to about $1.5 million this year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Somewhere in that range.
Grows between Fairfax and Columbia, and our net likely will be just under 1.2.
So somewhere in that range, and it varies obviously depending on things, and hopefully in perpetuity it would continue to grow. So I just want to explain that again, because it's so paramount to what we do and how we do it and why we continue to do the things we do, NED grants and events. And then the third revenue source that Melissa was talking about, because of her background in economic development and brilliance is anytime we do a project, we look and say, the Woosty dealership being a prime example, it's hard to predict exactly when he's done. Forget what his cost of construction are, it's what the auditor is going to audit it for or appraise it for, and it comes in arrears. So that's why, as Melissa's, but what we do is we TIF those tax increment financing, which means you capture the new tax revenues from the new improvements. The old tax revenues stay as they are and go to the places they need to go to. The new tax increment financed revenues, we use those to invest in infrastructure for the project and other things we can do in that community. As Melissa mentioned, a lot of that, those revenue streams will be captured to pay for the fire department and
Redevelopment, but typically capital infrastructure or capital facilities.
and they have to be near the areas. So the Region Highland TIFs have to kind of be spent up in that area. The ones down in Plainville, they need to be spent in this area. The ones in Worcester Pike generally want to be spent in the Worcester Pike area. That's generally the way it works. And again, I don't mean to be redundant, but it's such a major part of what we do, and really, to me, of all the decisions we've made, these are the most important. Those economic development decisions, along with the grants Melissa's able to get, those are the brilliance we make. Other than that, than most of the decisions we make on a daily basis, I think anybody could do. I don't say anybody could do, but I'm just saying that I'm involved with. This is where we can all come in and make a difference. So I just didn't mean to go be redundant. I know you explained it. I'm hoping that maybe simplifies it a little bit. But
I appreciate the simplification.
Yeah.
Thank you all. That was incredible for the layman like myself, and kudos to the transparency and the thought
well,
process.
that too, we just tipped the Chase Bank too, didn't we?
Yes.
So that we're able to take those revenues from that, improvement, that let's say that property goes from, let's say it was worth 600 grand before, and now it may be worth $2.5 million bucks. So you're gonna capture those future revenues, and then we will have the ability to invest in infrastructure or bike trails or whatever that improve the area on Worcester Pike. So those are great choices and great things. So again, those are the places where we can really make a big difference. That's it. Didn't mean to interrupt, but I thought I'd go
No.
off a little bit on just explaining that, because when we go to our town meetings, that is 90% of the biggest decisions we make, along with the people we select, like Mr. Brokamp and the rest of you guys.
Yeah,
So
that's a great way to wrap that up.
I-
The leadership of the board is crucial to a high-performance community, and the team is crucial to the services delivery, and the ethics and honesty, and following the compliance and protocols of the different auditor requirements, and then the funding. And not exactly, but we're pretty close to almost doubling, bringing in double what the property tax revenues generate.
which is huge.
The community, I used to live here. The community where I live, that doesn't happen. So I'm sometimes surprised when people would complain about something, because I feel that they still must not have, we haven't converted them as a disciple to understand what we are doing in this community, who doubles their property tax revenues between the JEDC, the medical marijuana money, the tax and grant financing, and the grants. So.
Monumental.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
Anyway, didn't mean to go off on that, but I thought
No,
it's always worth
important.
rehashing. It's the first of the year, so there you go. Okay, then we move on to the next
Okay,
one.
this is the final resolution. I'll read the title. Authorizing amendments to the town.
Oh, wait.
Sorry, what did I do?
Do we have to dispense with the
I'm
second
sorry.
reading? No,
Yes,
no, no.
we do.
All right,
I kept moving, sorry, thank
there we
you.
go, okay. I make a motion, we dispense with the second reading. Do I hear a second?
A second.
Roll call.
Mr. Lamar?
Yes.
Mr. Kubicki?
Yes.
Mr. Brokamp?
Yes.
Good catch, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Authorizing amendments to the Township Handbook Policies and Procedures Manual and dispensing with the second reading. The Township Handbook Policies and Procedures Manual governs personnel. It was put into place in 1996, another 1990 era object. Like I mentioned one earlier this evening. There have been a few interim updates, including several that I have made since coming on board. It is still dated. We're working on a full update to it. This evening, I'm asking you just to make a couple of changes to it so that I can move forward with some personnel changes, which is important and is described in the resolution that for us to attract talent, kind of one of the themes this evening, and stay current also under the law, and even more importantly, to retain the employees that we have. So I'm asking you to adopt the amendments that have outlined in Exhibit A, and I'm going to briefly go through those. So Exhibit A, I'm asking that I'm giving you examples of current documents and the proposed changes to those documents. So the first item is the organizational chart, and if you pass the resolution, we will delete the current chart and replace it with the 2024 chart, and I'll go through both of those. And then I have two position descriptions. One, I'm asking to delete a 25-year-old administrative assistant position that is no longer needed. And I am going on the record, although I'm not asking for it this evening, I'm going on the record to say that I want to reclassify the road superintendent position as well. And then this evening, I'll ask that we create a finance assistant to the administrator position. So I worked with staff over the latter part of this year. We looked at our organizational chart. We talked about the trustees' goals for the services delivery, all of the legal and accounting, compliance, reporting, and other requirements that the state, the county, and the federal and federal and other agencies place on us, and talked about, instead of when there might be a change, just refilling a position, who do we really need on the bus, and who do we need in what seats to make this team do what it really needs to do, continue to do, which is, as we've described, really provide outstanding, I think exceptional is a term that we've used a lot, exceptional services to the community. So the organizational chart on the next page, I'm asking that we delete this chart and replace it with the new chart. And with that comes the next page, which is, there's a road superintendent position. I'll mention that in just a minute, but there's also a administrative assistant position. So in deleting this chart and then putting in the new chart into the book, what we're doing is we're deleting an administrative assistant position, which had, as I said, has been in place at least 25, possibly more years. I do not need an administrative assistant, 25 plus years of technology. I know when I lived here as a resident, you would call, there someone answering the phone, taking messages for the former administrator and other administrative tasks. And that is not something that we currently need today with the technology that we have available to us. What I have discovered because of the talent in the staff is that I lean on more managerial and sometimes executive level skill sets in both the road administrator and then also with Lauren and Ellen and other team members. And so I'm interested in putting into place the person who's my right hand over operations and who's my right hand over administration, and specifically finance. And so that's the direction that I'm heading. I mean, here's an example of the former administrative assistant position. The two lead responsibilities were receiving visitors and processing mail. So I would like to replace it with finance assistant to the administrator, and I offer a creative position outline. This position will directly work with me on fulfilling all the financial, accounting, and other executive and managerial level duties that are required to keep the office open and running and in compliance. And I've put a lot of detail in here. If you want to look over, or if you want to talk about it in more detail, I'm happy to go through that. What I will say is that my experience over the last 4 years, and we just touched on it earlier this evening, the business of bringing in new revenue to the township and managing that revenue, for example, the Jed Z, but also the grants. You know, I'm a prolific grant writer. On Friday, December 29th at 8:00 p.m., Friday night, before New Year's Eve weekend, I hit send on a grant, hit submit on a grant.
Of course you did.
A thing.
You have a decent win rate too.
I have. So the cost to me is that I have managed all of the grants. It's great to get the money, but managing the grants is literally almost a part-time job. So all of the stimulus grants, CARES, ARPA, the OPWC grants for all of our roads, all of the grants that we applied for and received for the firehouse redevelopment, and then the couple of grants that I wrote at the end of last year, if those come through, those have the potential to be in the hundreds of thousands. So they require monitoring and compliance and reports and accounting, et cetera. And so that is something that I'm really looking for someone who has that expertise and interest to take off of me, frankly. We're looking for someone who has kind of what this team has, which is drive and enthusiasm and a can-do, to pick it up. So that's really what I'm looking for. Don't view things as a chore. And that's really where we get a lot of oomph for the residents and our businesses here. So that is one of the key things driving this, and then I've outlined, everything else there. So I'm asking for that change this evening specifically, and then I'll just mention that I would like to come back before you, maybe in a couple of months, but I want to also change Dustin Frazier's position title and then add some additional duties as well there. Similar to the administrative assistant position, the road superintendent position goes back decades as well, and it speaks mostly to maintenance and things like that. And Dustin functions almost in a role as on the operations side as an assistant administrator, which is why I fashioned the administrative piece for finance assistant too. And he is crucial to many major capital projects that we work on, not just roads, but also the redevelopment of the firehouse, as well as taking care of all of the facilities that we have purchased for redevelopment. And for example, we owned, when I started, we owned this building and the compost yard at the Ridge and Highland in the Ridge and Highland district. We now have, we owned the firehouse, but it was sitting vacant and nothing happening with it. Now we will have an active, we have 3 more facilities. We will have an active town hall, community center, senior center, event center, and then we will have an active commercial user in 6896 Murray, and then we will have redeveloped whatever the final decision is on the Cambridge property, most likely to support other redevelopment of other properties that are becoming available along Plainville. And Dustin is key in all of that as well. I kind of handle the leading side of it, and so I'll wait and go into more detail when I bring that back to you, but I wanted to share that this is more of an organizational shift this evening to our team, to bring on and to acknowledge and including Lauren. She was a new position that we created a few years ago, to bring on the types of people who, as I said, are enthusiastic and excited about working for a community and working for a board that brings ideas, and we vet them and we put them into play, like NED, Neighborhood Economic Development Program, $500,000, boom, right into people's neighborhoods. And those types of things we just have not previously been doing that require that much manpower and kind of staff managerial, and as I said, quasi-executive expertise. And so that's the team that I'm looking to build, and so I'm asking for your support on the one move this evening for the finance assistant to the administrator, and then I'll bring back some minor changes to the road superintendent to acknowledge what he's really contributing and doing.
I appreciate you making the change, because specifically to the head title of road superintendent, when somebody calls and has a certain problem solved, it's like, I'll have my road superintendent call you, and it just seems almost awkward.
Yeah.
Like my road superintendent, I'll have my mechanic call you. He does so much more than that. So I appreciate the fact we're retitling these, because I think it's a much broader position. So, and certainly the one in the office, you know exactly what you need. So I'm full support. I make a motion that we
Approve.
approve. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Roll call.
Mr. Lamar?
Yes.
Mr. Kubicki?
Yes.
Mr. Brokamp?
Yes.
And I make a motion, we dispense with the second reading. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Lamar?
Yes.
Mr. Kubicki?
Yes.
Mr. Brokamp?
Yes.
Okay, I make a motion to approve the payment of bills, bank reconciliation, and financial reports. Does Steve vote on this, or does he not?
Oh.
Well, he can abstain.
He would not have knowledge of the materials from the past month.
Correct.
It's not
So let's
necessary.
postpone that. Thank you for asking.
Okay, but I make a motion that we approve the payment of bills, bank records, and financial reports. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Lamar?
Yes.
Mr. Kubicki?
Yes. Okay, I make a motion for the signing of the minutes and resolutions. Do I hear a second?
A second.
Roll call.
Mr. Lamar?
Yes.
Mr. Kubicki?
Yes. And I make a motion, we adjourn. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Well, real quick, before we do adjourn, we're going to have a great 2024. Again, condolences to Susan Hughes's family, Lenny, the kids, and everything else. Again, we'll think of some way to tribute them in the future. 2024 is going to do some great things in Columbia Township. We got a lot of, like you said, a tough year here, and we're really looking forward to working with Steve and family and everything else. So we're going to have a good year. So cheers. And Brian, I always say, you finish yourself.
Oh gosh, it's weird not being the new guy, but I'm excited. Certainly excited
that's
for
right.
Steve.
There you go.
I've been the new guy for a while.
So is Melissa. She's a rookie, and she's been here like 10 years.
It feels like it.
I know.
What we did today with TIFs and reorganizing the handbook is due to all the growth. You kind of said that. It's all the growth and all the great things happening in Columbia Township, and now we get to, put our minds together and how we're going to do that. So I'm excited for it.
And again, we planned our next podcast. I talked to Melissa a bit about this, is to introduce our new trustees. We kind of had to go do this quickly in 30 days, is to have Steve on and dig a deeper dive, find out how fast he runs to 100 and how fast he can swim and everything else. So we'll do a podcast on him so you can really get to meet the new trustee as well. So we'll get back, and that'll be our special guest. Okay, with that, I make a motion, we adjourn. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Lamar?
Yes.
Mr. Kubicki?
Yes.
Mr. Brokamp?
Yes.